Okay, hi. I'm Sierra from Dear Sierra. As you guys can see, I took a plunge and watched Degrassi Next Class. I actually watched this probably at the top of the year, beginning of 2021. And don't worry, I will be covering Degrassi Next Generation. I actually grew up on Degrassi Next Generation. I don't want you guys thinking like Next Class is my favorite, because it's not. I don't want you guys thinking that like Next Class was my first exposure to Degrassi, because it's not. I am a 90s baby. I'm a millennial. I grew up watching Degrassi Next Generation as the episodes actually aired in real time. So I am all about that. I respect them as OGs. I know they are OGs, but I wanted to get this one out first because it's a little bit more like fun and a little bit more, definitely shorter and definitely a little bit more watered down, like not in a mean way, but basically, I'm not new to Degrassi by any means. I feel like I had to make that disclaimer. I don't want you guys thinking that I am skipping over anything. I'm very, very much a Degrassi Next Generation stan. And I think it lends a lot of background information to Degrassi Next Class. And I already have all the information in my head, so I'm going to try not to bounce back and forth too much, but that information definitely was helpful going into Degrassi Next Class, just for like little bits and pieces of information here and there. With all that being said, I'm looking at notes that I wrote down because I want to stay on track, because it's obviously going to be a long video. So I don't want you guys to think that because I'm looking at notes means that I'm like not being genuine with what I'm saying. These are all like my words and my thoughts, my opinions, stuff like that. But I wanted to tackle Next Class first because it's much shorter, and it's just like an easier era to tackle and discuss without being like so intertwined and overlapped. Degrassi Next Class. So there are 4 seasons, 10 episodes each, which is pretty short. So let's get into it. So the focus is the junior class and the sophomore class. We kind of already know Maya Matlin, Katie Matlin's little sister. Honestly, she comes into the Next Class like already kind of tainted from like previous Degrassi seasons. I think she was on season 13 and I think she was on 11, 12, 13, and 14 of Degrassi Next Generation, I believe, don't quote me, but she's already been through multiple seasons of Degrassi Next Generation before Next Class starts, so she's kind of like already a staple character. She wasn't necessarily a main character back there, but she was like being kind of like groomed to become a main character in Next Generation. So a lot of her like character development has already happened prior to jumping into Next Class, so keep that in mind. She already has this kind of like tainted good girl image from Next Generation, from back when, spoiler, her boyfriend died from a spoiler type reason that I won't get into in this video. So she's already like actively in therapy, I believe, and she's a little bit more rebellious now. Before Next Class even started, she was already like dating Sig, and she already dated Miles Hollingsworth as well. A lot of shit has already happened with her. Like a lot of shit has already previously happened with her before we see her here. And it would just be too much to explain. So season 1 starts off, she's dating Zig, who's already had a huge character arc himself. We'll get into that. She needs a guitarist for her band. Zig gets jealous because she wants Jonah to be the guitarist for her band instead of Zig. She gets her feelings hurt at a band gig because some guy like catcalls her, like just makes fun of her being like a little girl. And then she goes on this like kind of like feminist rampage, kind of. I don't want to say rampage, but like a feminist streak that's almost like an overcorrection of what she experienced. And then she goes on some music trip that literally no junior high school kid would ever be going on. Like it's just like so unrealistic. And she thinks that like Grace and Jonah are going, but then Grace can't go. And remember, Jonah is the guy that Zig is kind of getting jealous of. So Jonah goes with her, Zig gets jealous, and out of being jealous, he hooks up with Zoe, who we will talk about as well. Maya comes back from the little music trip, and then she realizes that her and Zig were kind of like missing each other's messages because his phone was busted, and she turned her phone off for the whole weekend, which is also like very unrealistic and like an easy way to solve a problem is to turn your freaking phone on, but whatever. So they kind of like make up, and they're like, oh, like, yeah, like we had bad communication while you were gone. And then Zig feels guilty. Maya gets these creepy messages from Hunter. Hunter is Miles Hollingsworth's little brother. And then Hunter kind of feels like personally attacked because Maya's on her like feminist rampage, and she's kind of like going after this gamer club or whatever, because they're supposedly sexist or whatever. Eventually Maya does find out that Zig and Zoe hooked up, but she thinks that it was just a kiss. But eventually, I think in the season finale, Zoe tells her what really happened. I was mentioning Jonah before. He's a series regular now. He previously dated Becky Baker. He was like a clean teen or something. Clean teen is a One Tree Hill reference if you guys weren't following. But he's basically essentially a clean teen. He's kind of annoying, but you'll kind of see a theme that I think everybody on next class is annoying. So he's also just really hard to look at. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like Jonah is just not my favorite person to look at or to hear speak or to see in scenes or anything. I mentioned Zoe earlier, and I kind of want to get into her because she has a lot of stuff going on as well. She actually was also in season 13 and 14 of Next Generation, so she's already kind of a familiar face. To kind of like wrap up where she was in those seasons, she's a child actress and moved to Degrassi, and a lot of her like previous celebrity perks and stuff has like already dwindled out when she's at Degrassi, and she doesn't have like as much prestige as she thought she did. In season 1, she's still close to Tristan, and her old best friend Tori is like already gone and moved away from Degrassi. Which, side note, the actress that plays Tori is actually the same actress that played Craig's little sister in like the early seasons of Next Generation, and she's also Cassie Steele's little sister in real life, which Cassie Steele played Manny. So nice little overlap there. Honestly, what they should have done, which I think all of the Degrassi fandom agrees, they should have taken the actress that played Craig's little sister, which is this girl, which is the girl that played Tori, not to be confused with Zoe, but the girl that played Tori, Alexa Steele is her name in real life. She played Craig's little sister when she was little. They should have just aged her up and had her still be Craig's little sister on the show instead of creating a totally new character out of nowhere, which is like very, very weird and unnecessary. And they could have had an amazing like family continuation going on there, but they chose not to do that, so whatever. But yeah, Zoe was best friends with Tori. Tori left. Zoe is still best friends with Tristan. Zoe goes looking for her real dad, and she thinks that he's an actor. She does end up meeting him like on the set of some TV show or something, and he denies being her real dad, but it's kind of implied that she still thinks that he is, and that the show wants you to think that he still kind of could be her dad. But that's literally the first and last time we hear from him or see him or anything, because Grace was there to kind of comfort her. Grace and Zoe have a kiss, which is a really big deal because up until this point, neither of them are presented to the audience as being into girls. Grace isn't dating anyone, and Zoe has only dated guys. So it's like a real shock. And then Zoe feels kind of weird about it, but also curious. And you fast forward even more, and then Grace and Zoe like full on have sex at Grace's house, and it's just like out of left field. Very shortly afterwards, Grace tells Zoe that like she's not into her, she's not into girls at all, but she just kind of did it because they were friends, and she didn't want to reject her, or like wasn't totally opposed to it, but she's not feeling it kind of thing. So Zoe is like honestly, like obviously like offended and confused, and she's like embarrassed because she was so sure that Grace was into her, which is a common theme with Zoe. She assumes people are into her and is so flabbergasted when they're not. Zoe asks Grace, okay, well, if you're not into me, if you're not into girls, then who are you into? Because you never act like you're into anyone. And then Grace tells her, I'm into Zig, actually. And then Zoe is like really upset. Fast forward to like another episode or so. Zoe is visibly upset, and Zig comforts her. And then with him comforting her, they become close, and some kind of like romantic tension happens. And this is around the same time that Maya is out of town with Jonah at the music thing, and Zig is jealous, and that's how Zoe and Zig end up hooking up. And she really kind of, I guess, essentially hurt Maya and Grace in that, because they both, yeah. Moving on, there's Shay Powers. She is the token Black girlfriend. She is like best friends with Frankie, who I do not like at all. It's like her, Frankie, and Lola are like the three amigos, basically. Shay really fell short, and it's to no fault of her own. I think it's had a lot to do with like how she was presented appearance-wise and like personality-wise. They just really did her dirty with her hair and her wardrobe. It was just trash, honestly. But everyone's wardrobe is actually kind of trash in next class, to be honest. And she's not the first Black character that Degrassi has totally like given the short end of the stick to in multiple aspects. That's gonna be a whole other video, truly, honestly. She's like really skinny, she's sporty, and she carries herself like really awkward. Overall, Shay is like really weird and awkward with boys. So we meet her this season. She's trying to make her butt bigger because she proclaims that she likes Tiny, which is the Black guy character, and all of her friends are like, oh, well, Tiny likes girls with the big butts because apparently Black men only like women with big butts, and that's what they told their Black friend to do to get the Black guy's attention. So she can't really tell that Tiny is hitting on her when he is hitting on her, so they have like a lot of like missed opportunities to connect. Her parents are really strict with her hanging out with boys in general, so even if she was like picking up all of his signs, they would not really be able to hang out how a regular high school couple would be able to hang out, which I get that. When I dated in high school, I was not allowed to have a boyfriend, and I had to explain to my boyfriends that like, I am your girlfriend and you can't cheat on me and you can't talk to other girls, but I'm probably not ever going to see him and hang out with you outside of school because my parents will go with that. So I get it. Tiny kind of mistakes her for not being interested in him because she's so awkward and like doesn't have any like leniency with her parents to date publicly or whatever. So instead he moves on and he asks out Lola, who is Shay's best friend. Remember, Shay, Lola, and Frankie are the three amigos. Shay gives Lola her blessing, which is like, never, girls, if you're listening to this, never do that. Never give your friend your blessing to move forward with a guy that you are interested in. Even if you think that you won't be interested in later, even if you never actually dated them or have never actually even like touched them or hung out with them, don't do it. Especially if you did date them, but even especially if you didn't ever date them, don't do it. Honestly, Lola and Tiny like admittedly make a much cuter couple in my opinion, but she gives them their blessing to date, and that's basically all you need to know about Shay in season 1. Moving on is the Hollingsworths. They are the rich kids. So there's Miles Hollingsworth, who I guess is like supposed to be a junior in high school, and then he has 2 younger siblings, Frankie, who is a girl, and Hunter, and they are twins. They're fraternal twins, and they're, I guess, a grade lower than him, so I guess they're supposed to be a sophomore. Hunter is weird, and if you have watched any of Degrassi, especially next class, you'll understand why I say Hunter is weird. But he's a good actor. I will say he's a good actor. Miles is like pitched as like the rich boy villain. Frankie is spoiled and ditches her friends for a boy constantly, which you'll see as a theme throughout all of these seasons. And Hunter plays video games and hates people in real life. That's like the summary, basically. Frankie started out dating Winston, who is an Asian kid who happens to be best friends with her brother Miles. In short, Frankie becomes like too self-centered and superficial for Winston, so they break up. I don't really remember how or why they broke up, but it's not that important. They're like really young, so it's not a big deal. And then after she breaks up with Winston, her friends still feel like, okay, like you're acting like this guy was your whole world, but like why can't you go back to being happy? Like why are we not enough for you? Like why are you enjoying our company? Like why are you like so spiraled because of this boy that you dated for 2 weeks, but we're your friends and we are not doing anything for you? So as a result of this, Shay and Lola catfish Frankie. Yes, you heard me correctly. And what does she do when she finds out? She forgives them. Probably because she low-key liked the attention, honestly. And honestly because like who else is going to be her friend? So she has to forgive them. And by the end of the season, she oddly ends up kind of dating Jonah, which is really weird because Frankie is a sophomore at this point and Jonah is like supposed to be a senior, but he's actually a junior. And I'm just like, why did they hold him back? Because I was so ready to like not see him anymore. So really he's like going on 18 and she's like a sophomore, but whatever. Moving on to Miles. I totally forgot that Miles at the start of season 1 is dating this girl named Esme. She's crazy. And as someone that's like in the mental health profession and a mental health advocate, I feel totally fine with saying she's crazy because she is crazy. She basically uses her mental health battle as a way to like scare Miles into staying with her, which also becomes a theme in her other relationships as well. Miles is on pills this season. The rich white boys are always on pills or coke or something, but you know. And then he like experiences a bunch of like highs and lows, like emotional and like adrenaline wise or whatever. Hunter gets a gaming club. I told you he's the gamer, and it's taken down when Maya goes on her little feminist streak. So Hunter is naturally pissed. Okay. He and his gaming friends, I think there's like someone named Baz and like something else. I don't want to miscall him. Whatever. Him and his gamer friends, which are a very culturally diverse group, by the way. Like, he has the most flavor in his little like tiny gamer group than like any of the other friend groups on the show. There's one girl in the group, the girl with the glasses and the wig. Her name is like Yael. Okay. She has like a red wig, not natural red hair, but like a red wig and glasses. The wardrobe sucks. She becomes more relevant in later seasons. Basically, his little friend group threatens Maya online because they're like angry with her about taking down the gaming group or whatever. SWAT team comes to her house at some point because of the threats online, but I guess it ends up being like a false alarm. I don't remember how that panned out, but whatever. Zig beats Hunter up once I found out that it's Hunter that's like sending the threatening messages or whatever. Then Hunter takes a gun to the school dance. There's a lockdown. At the end, this is all in the season finale, he like chickens out and like Miles saves him or whatever. That's the Hollingsworths story. I didn't really touch much on Tristan. He's an amazing actor, by the way, okay? Tristan's an amazing actor. He pivoted from like all of these other different roles and he did it so well throughout the entire series. He is in Degrassi Next Generation, I believe also with Maya from like season 11, 12, 13, 14. He's gay. He likes drama, both in his personal life and at school. He's on like the drama club or whatever. He's been in a few different plays. In Degrassi Next Class, he was in a play with Dave and he had to kiss Dave. Now it's like a big story arc, whatever. But yeah, he's gay, he likes drama. Now he's running for like some school council position. It's not really important. Like, school council is never really important. Like, after school is over, like no one cares about school council. Tristan is making his way around town, like embracing sexuality. Then at some point during season 1, I believe, there's like an STI scare of some sort. Zig. He had a lot of character development prior to the Next Class season 1. He was in the tail end seasons of Degrassi Next Generation as well. So basically he was poor. He had to do like desperate poor boy stuff in order to like get by and blend in with his peers. He's now a lot more like reformed and mature. I honestly would be friends with Zig in real life if I was in high school, I should say. He's possibly the most likable person, the most likable male character in Next Class, period, because none of his characteristics come off as being forced like it is with a lot of the other like male main characters. He's best friends with Tiny, who is the black guy that I mentioned that Shay is interested in, but then passes him off to Lola. He's dating Maya for the whole first season. It takes a few episodes for Zig to tell Maya that he hooked up with Zoe. When he does tell her, she believes that hook up means they just kissed and kind of leaves it at that. And then, like I told you already, Zoe ends up telling Maya that they did more than kiss. And then I think Maya breaks up with him on the same episode as the season finale. It's kind of like interpreted as her breaking up with him. And that's where season 1 ends, with the lockdown, Hunter bringing in the gun, Maya finding out the truth, all of that stuff. Season 1 is very centered around Maya's friend group, Maya, Zig, I guess a little bit of like Frankie's drama mixed in there, a lot of Miles stuff as well with Esme. But that's really it to season 1. It's a very like introductory season, kind of seeing like where all the pieces fell after Next Generation. It's mostly just like kind of introducing you to people's traumas and their flaws as well. Like, we find out about Miles and his drug problem. We find out about Zig's insecurities. We find out about Shay like not really having any boy experience. So it kind of like introduces you to what these characters lack and kind of like gives you kind of like a foreshadowing of like what problems can be created out of that, especially depending on who they are in relationships with, whether that be friendships or romantic relationships. In comparison to Next Generation, it's a very surface level issue. It's not nearly as like emotional and like so much about like, why are you how you are? Just like, this is this person, this is their problem, this is this person, this is their problem, but not really like, why are they that way, or like what made them that way, or what them being that way means for other areas of their life. It's not so much as in depth. It's very surface level, if you ask me. That doesn't mean that it's not translated. I mean, I guess Next Class is very much for Gen Z children, whereas Next Generation was very much for millennial children. So I think as far as taking into consideration how they consume information, how they consume content, especially like fictional content, was definitely regarded when they made Next Class. I will say that. So that's the end of the season 1 review. We'll get into season 2 where things get a little bit more beefed up, I guess. And I will see you in the season 2 video.